And we are live. Evelyn Johnson here with In the Beginning Incubator and Fun. I am here this week to discuss and welcome you to the Procurement and Contract Management webinar. Very, very excited to have everyone here. Very excited to get started. And excited that everybody is here and on. This week, we have a lot of new things going on. And we're just going to move right on into the webinar and get to working and get into doing things. We have a lot of information to share, and I want to make sure we get to it and get it done tonight. So let's get to it. And I'm reaching over to get to my clicker here. Okay. So this webinar goes into how you work with contracts, how you work with maybe the federal government, your state government, or any process that you deal with contracts and you have to solicit for bids, or they solicit for bids and they're asking you for information and to create not specifically the process of a grant process, a little bit different, but it is getting into exactly how you work with other and bigger organizations. So if you ever wanted to work with a state organization, or if you ever wanted to work with a federal organization, or if you ever wanted to work with just a larger, even a big company, because a lot of them do RFPs and put bids out. if you were interested in that space, this is a great webinar to kind of get you open in explaining some of that process and how this process works. This is a great webinar for that. We're going to look at a live webinar that every state probably has some of these components, a program like this. The one we're going to be looking at is EVA tonight, which is the Virginia one. And we're going to just look at it and kind of go through it a little bit. But the first things I want to discuss with you is the definition of procurement and the importance of procurement in business operations and key steps in the procurement process. Those are the things that we're going to discuss tonight. So identifying the needs and supplier research and solicitation of bids and evaluation and awards. We're going to kind of go through all of that. So the definition, just the boilerplate definition of procurement is in business, in operations, is very specific. It is the process of the keys to it are identifying the needs, I don't know what happened. Where are we? I can't see. I can't see anything. Oh, the process of procurement is acquiring goods and services for a business. It involves identifying the needs and finding suppliers and purchasing and receiving and inspecting the goods and services. So that's the process of procurement. It's identifying a specific need. And in my class that I do offer, this is a free class too, a little bit longer, a little more in depth. In my class, I do discuss the process of that and the importance of procurement in business. The key steps in procurement process is identifying your needs, supplier research. So supplier would be if you are looking for a RFP or if you're looking to deal with a specific company, you need to research as much information about that entity, that company, whatever that is, in advance so that you're prepared for exactly what they're going to want and to create what they need. A solicitation of bids and evaluation and awarding of contracts. That's the process. That's pretty much everything that you know. They identify needs, supplier research, solicitation of bids, and evaluation and awarding of contracts. That is a simultaneous thing. It is something that an individual that is supplying the product or service is doing, identifying needs, as well as the individuals that need the services done or the supply. They're doing their own need assessment. So it's a thing going on both for the buyer and the seller, and they kind of come together. The supplier research, suppliers sometimes do a little research on the people that they're going to work with and all of that space too. So that is something that goes on. So research is done on both sides of that table. Solicitation of bids. Sometimes there's something that we call a RFP, a request for a bid, but sometimes they give you the option of just give us a bid and we'll see what we need in the process. That happens. So that's still a two-pronged process that's going on. And then evaluation and award of the contract, that is the only place in this space that it is permanent, more to the person that's asking for the bid than the person that's submitting. That is a one part of that. But in evaluation and of awards and awarding a contract, you still got to go through a lot of loopholes to get to that space. You do have to initially put the paperwork in. And then the second part is to make sure that you have everything that's in the criteria for them to use in awarding that grant. So they may have specifics about how much insurance your business needs to carry, or they may have specifics on how they want to pay you. They only want to do ACH processes, different things. So the evaluation and awarding of contracts is a little bit of a different space too, but you're still going through the process until you actually get it fully and completely awarded, and then it's done. So that is the first part of that. And so the next one is the different procurement methods. And it's a tender. And tender is like, it is like money, but it's not actual money. An open and tender and a request for proposal or request for a quotation. You could see any of this when you're looking to procure and work with a business and work with the agency. If it's attached to a state agency, if it's attached to a federal agency, whoever it's attached to, because I know companies do RFPs too for certain things when they need different contracts and things. Like if they need cleaning, they will kind of do an RFP for that. The airport is big in this space because the airport, and if you didn't know, here's some extra information. At any airport, especially the Richmond airport, everything in there is contracted. Everything in there is contracted. The only thing that the airport provides is the space for everyone to do what they do. So the people that sell food, the people that sell gift bags, the people that you buy your ticket from, the people that the airplane comes onto, all of that is contracted to the airport. So they put out an RFP for that, and they got the information and they got it. So most agencies do have some type of RFP process, and that they do really well in that space. Direct procurement means it's a direct person, it's a direct contract already established in place and things of that nature, and the benefits and the challenges of the method. So all of these four things at the top are different ways to request for proposals or work with a potential supplier from a agency. Those are different ways: open and tender, request for proposal, request for quotation, or direct procurement. Sometimes if they don't want to put it out there, they know this company does really well, so we're just going to work with that company and leave it at that. We're going to work with that company and leave it at that. And that's what that says. The benefits and the challenges of each method is what we're going to really talk about now. I don't necessarily see, in my opinion, too many benefits or challenges. I think it is hard to do either way, but you have to get in there and get into the nuts and bolts of it, and get to work. So I don't necessarily see any challenges in the process. I see a bunch of opportunities, but it is a process that you have to go through. And some essential components of your contract are your scope of work, terms and conditions. Your scope of work is like the most important thing. It's probably right after the purpose, even in the RFP. And I'm going to try to show you one tonight before we go off. But that is one of the most important things. And that says what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, where we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, and everybody that's involved with doing it. That is where your scope of work comes in. And then your terms and conditions, whatever the terms and conditions of you to do the work or whatever it is that you're proposing, and what conditions you have to do it in. First of all, and some of the terms and conditions are for a contractor might be, we only work on a certain set of dates. Even though that company that we're working for may be open 24 hours, 7 days a week, we only work on certain days. So those start to come into the terms and conditions. And that might be a term they want us there regardless. If they're there, they want us there. Deliverables and milestones. Deliverables are your work. What can you do? And how long can you do it and sustain it? And what is it that we're going to get at the end of that deliverable? So a deliverable, explained a little bit better, is we're planning, as with ITB, we want to show people and deliver business plans to people. And our milestone is at the end of the month to say we're going to get in 30 days, your business plan finished and delivered to you. That's one of our goals. That's a deliverable. And then we have a milestone, a date attached to it that we're going to finish the work. So that's kind of, just a loose example of a deliverable and a milestone. You've contracted us to write your business plan, and we're saying on the, and within a month we'll have your business plan done, and that will be your milestone. And when it's completed, it's done. Payment and terms, that is part of this whole component of the actual contract that you get when you're working with a contractor or you're doing with procurement. Those are specific and they're laid out. Termination clauses and dispute resolution, all of that is specific and laid out. And it's done for both your purposes as a contractor working with the agency and in the agency as a business working with bringing in someone to do some additional work. Because the reality of it is, they're hiring you. Say the state is hiring you, the DMV is hiring you to do a bid, to do some work at the DMV, making sure that it's clean. They don't assume you are state employees. They don't assume anything about you. So they need to get a lot of information, and they need to tell you in the termination and the dispute resolution and everything how they do things. And then you all come together and decide how we're going to move this process along and finish. And that's why I was saying, even though you may get a contract, and a lot of people get them, actually working through the process is a little bit different. And so you have to, because with the very simple example that I gave, say the state is open 7 days a week, but my company only does work Monday through Friday. So we're not going to do those other 2 days. And is that something that you can deal with and we can have a, payment and terms and termination clauses about, and dispute and resolution, all of that. We can have that discussion before we get to any of those areas. The next thing is the best practices in contract negotiations and strategies for successful negotiation. First of all, once you get to the table, and you're not at the table until everybody else that was in competition with you is completely eliminated. The negotiations do not start before your competition is eliminated. They start after that point. So the paperwork is finished. On paper, you're good. You're on paper, you probably will get this grant. Or get the proposal or get the contract. That probably is a factor. Now, let's move past and start negotiating. This is when negotiations come. They come very late in this process. They're not early in the process. They're after you get past the paperwork process and preparation and research. You have to do your research. Research is important here because you need to know their expectations as early in advance. And to know that, again, let's use the same example. We only open 5 days a week. So your company is open 7 days a week. How are we going to do what we're going to do? I looked into that and I see, and my proposal says we're going to do work 5 days a week. How are we fine with that? Are we okay with that? And that's negotiations. That might be negotiating that factor. Understanding the other party's needs. And that's why I'm using this as an example we're only open on 5 days a week. But I know you all are busy in the office for 7 days a week. But is weekends okay to not come in and do, maybe the cleaning or something? How can we make this work for both of us, be a big win-win? Because we're not changing our company policies and everything and creating all of that space just for this contract. So let's figure out how we can do that. And the way you do that is effective communication. Be very clear with the research and understanding the needs. Is it okay about the fact that you all are not even though you have a skeleton crew on the weekends, is it okay for us to still just come in at 5 days a week and do what we're doing? So all of those things, that's where you start to build those conversations and communicate, building strong relationships. And that is the best place to start, because you want to start to have conversations with people about the work that you're doing and things of that nature, without it being and it being very human and very real and authentic, not just because of what's on this paper. We know the parameters of what's on this paper. Now this starts to build that working relationship that we have. So and they know, they'll be very comfortable in the headspace of, well, when I talk to such and such, they've been every bit honest with me from the very beginning to now. So I don't have any reason to doubt them. So if they need this to happen, then I'm going to do it, because things can change in the process of that contract as well. While you're doing it, you might get in there and see, and some of your foremen or someone may get in there and see that it's something else that needs to change. And, oh, we're not really here for 8 hours a day, or we need to be here for 8 hours a day, and they only have us working 5 hours a day. We might need to change that around. All of those things are things that will come into play. And effective communication from the very beginning, and being prepared with your research and understanding each other's needs starts to open up that effective communication when you're starting to negotiate things. Because even though you get the contract, as I said, you probably will get the contract. When you get the contract, that is where the negotiations start, after you've eliminated all of the anybody else that's coming against that bid with you. Once you get in that space is when it starts, because then it's when you could say, well, y'all said y'all minimum insurance was this, but our maximum is this. So what are we doing with that? That's when you start. Once you get through on paper and then get to the point of, all right, now I can see where I'm going with this process, and we're going to get this job done, and we got the job. So now let's just some specifics, because we have maternity leave and such as such, and all of those other things that could come up as your business grows and as you're working with another company, and things could change, and you need to be able to have those conversations. Well, that's when you build these strong relationships and focus on the win-win outcomes, making sure that everybody's position is thought about and you're supporting it. Risk management and contracts. And the thing about it is, contracts are different in that from grants, only in that you have to apply. I don't know how much of a big difference they are, because grants, you don't have to pay back anything. And contracts, you don't necessarily have to pay back anything. As long as you do the work, you get paid for it. And grants, you do basically do the work and you get paid for it as well. So the thing that I stayed away from, and this is just me personally having this conversation with you guys, when I worked, when we first started ITB, my biggest issue was bureaucracy. I don't want to get in the weeds of another business's bureaucracy. I didn't want rabbit holes in my business because of rabbit holes in other individuals' businesses. So I actively said, I do want grants, and I do want this opportunity to be in this space with contracts and things of that nature, but I only want them in a certain way, on a certain light. I don't want to do a lot of management, because a lot of times with grants and contracts, it is a lot of management. The good thing with contracts is you still have to be doing your work a lot more upfront and clear, because you get paid basically with them the same time everybody else gets paid. When you do the work, they do, it's pretty much that same process. Unlike grants, you probably get paid quarterly or something like that. But the other piece was, so I made a conversation. I called Washington, D.C. when we first got started, and as a woman with a disability, and I called and I spoke to someone in the disability component of the federal government, ACL, which is one of those components. And and I told them, I said, listen, I want some money from the United States. I'm not going to pretend I don't. However, I don't want all of your drama. I don't want all the bureaucracy. I don't need you breathing down my throat to get this work done. I need to be flexible, because we're doing something new here, and I need to just be able to focus on what we're doing and grow it out and build it out. Understood 110%. Told me, give me a little time. The young man told me, give me a little time, Mr. Baird. I remember him. like it was yesterday. He said, give me some time and I'll try to figure this out for you, Ms. Johnson. So probably 2 months later, I got a telephone call from Mr. Baird, and he said, listen, this particular school, which is Langston University, is getting ready to put in a grant. I think that if you want to, that you should have a conversation with them. Why don't you let them manage the grant and you do the work? And if they agree and y'all can agree to this process, then it will be a big win-win for everybody, because they'll get the overall grant, but you all will get the opportunity to do a lot of the work and let them manage and do all of the reportings and things of that nature. And I said, well, then that is exactly what I want. And that's exactly what we did. And we got that. And it's very creative. So even for people that have for-profit businesses trying to figure out how to get into grants and contracts, and you don't do maybe manpower type of businesses, meaning cleaning or development in the space of building things and stuff like that, and you think only people that get contractors are contractors, get contracts are contractors. No, that's not the case. There's a viable component for everyone who needs it. I am currently working with a company, a sports management company, and they're putting in a bid for Chesterfield County, because Chesterfield County has deemed that we need to do some more activities for these kids. And it doesn't have to be the basic programs that we have. We want some more enrichment kit programs. So he's going to write a whole program for sportsman, helping kids develop sports through his sports management company. That most people don't think those grants are on, those RFPs are on the website, but they are. The only thing that we don't do at ITB, and we kind of discourage us from doing it because it's so time consuming, is we don't go looking for the grants or the contracts. We ask you to bring them to us. And I love it when I get emails. Ms. Johnson, what you think about this? Ms. Johnson, what you think about that? Because I can give you a honest opinion, and I can get started on working on it as soon as you get it to me. But going back to the risk management and contracts, identifying and mitigating risk. Common contractual risks are non-performance. As I said, we work on these days. Now you want us there 7 days, but we only do work on 5 days. So that could be an issue. Delays. Why? What if everybody's getting in now, all the snow starts and now it's a delay? What does that mean to their bottom line? We still need to work done, and y'all delaying, those things, and cost and overruns. So as I said earlier, when you get into the job and you start to realize, oh, well, I didn't price this right enough. It costs more to do what I'm doing than I thought. And now you have to go into cost overruns. How do you address that? And then the next thing is strategies for risk mitigation. Clear contract language is key. Also back to that negotiations and having those conversations, and regular performance reviews. Contingency plans. Most contractors and most contract space that you operate in, RFPs and things of that nature, they give you the opportunity to come to the facility, location, or whatever, check it out for yourself so you can kind of do a good assessment. It's probably only 1 day. You could probably do it 2 or 3 days, I'm assuming. But that is the most that you get to physically look at a location and check it out. So in that space, you might want to, that's how you get into these spaces of non-performance or delays and cost overruns. If you get the opportunity to talk to the people in advance, talk to them. And if you get the opportunity to visit and see the space and have the conversation about everything, do that. It's important, because this can clearly address some of these common contractual risk. The next thing, here's a case study: solutions implemented, outcomes, and lessons learned. Overview of a successful procurement contract management case with key challenges. Stakeholder engagement and collaboration, use technology and tools in managing the process. And then post-implementation review and continuous. This is real world examples. I've given some examples. I'm just reading this. This is more of a opportunity, and let me open it up to see if anyone has any comments, so we can get to them. Give me a second. Let me get up here and get to the comments. Okay. So if anyone has any comments, anyone wants to share, because we're doing good on time. We're 7:27. So we're really good on time. If anyone wants to share any information about their process with contracts, they can. And right now we're going to dip into the Virginia EVA and procurement website, so we can kind of look at what we're looking at while we're talking about it. So I'm gonna do that while we're talking, while you're posting. So this is the EVA website. This is a really good one. It's very, very pretty much transparent, very good information for you. The key places that you need to look is here at business opportunities and contracts and sources. If you want to contract with Virginia, IT specific, a catalog, SWAM certified individuals, this space that you want to be in only. If you're SWAM certified, for most in this space right here, Virginia business opportunities and Vibe and open construction and future procurements, this is the best space to look. I always go in and look in this space. And here it just shows you everything that they offer. And here's an IFP, a RFI, a RFP. Our RFI is a request for information. Our RFP is a request for a proposal. Our IFB is I believe normally those are open for you to kind of submit some information in. And here are the actual contracts that they're looking for and opportunities that they have. So right now, and what I didn't do, and again, I'm just showing you this. This is just some generic information. I'm going to try to go all the way up to the top and just do it a different way. Let's see if we do it this way. Okay, because I want you to see all of this. So what I'm going to do is do consultant, because I'm a consultant. So let's do consultant, and let's do a search for that. Any consulting opportunities in the state of Virginia, this is what's going to come up. So they have one for HVAC modernization and consultant to do that. Develop a feasibility study for pre-engineering plan for high-level actionable plan to purpose identify optimum route for greenway connector. That's for a consultant. That's the business that we do. We consult. The purpose of this RFP is to establish a contract with a qualified consultant for provision of professional master planning services for the future improvement of development. So these are long-term contracts. They're not something that's going to be quick. Unless, and again, I did this to show you the variety and the vast differences in all of the type of contracts that will be on. And every state has a website like this. Every state has one. In Virginia, ours is called EVA. Even in Chesterfield, ours is called PING, just for our county. So in each state and even locales have their own process for this. And they put information out and they tell you what to do and how they want you to do it. So as you can see, we're just going down, and I'm gonna pull one because I want one that is still current, and I want one that is pretty interesting. And so let's do this one, City of Chesapeake, USA. So all you have to do is click on the opportunity on EVA. It comes up. Here's the key information that you need for this contract. And the first thing is to, the status is open. So it lets you know that it's available and open, and it is it's request for proposal. So you can submit your proposal. How much time you have left, when the date is due, It's right here. You have 8 days and 18 hours. It is literally to the moment. Most of these you have to submit online. So by 2 p.m. on 1/30/25, it should be in and done. Before that, it was issued at 1/10/25. So it was just issued like this week, like a week ago. Here's the person who's the buyer. Again, when you're dealing with contracts, somebody is a buyer, so that's the person who will be your contact person for everything that you do with this process. So any questions that you have when your payments start to come, everything, the whole process, Rebecca Lackey is the person that you will be contacted. And here's her email address and here's her telephone number, which means she's available pretty much, any business hours to have conversations about this process. The next thing that you can do is you always have the opportunity to email it. You could always print it out. And I usually will, and you can respond to this bid online, and you have to connect and be connected to Eva to do that. So let me go back. Let's go back. Let me stop here. And then the next thing are the details in all versions. So this doesn't look like the greatest one for me. And I don't know why this isn't coming up right. It says email this opportunity respond, but normally it gives you some place to download this information, and it's not. It also in here gives you information if there was any information included in here. And then also over here, and those will be items. There's no business to business messages to display. So a lot of times, and just so people can be clear with how these contract processes work, a lot of times it could be a big contract. And I'll go back out, and I'm just going to go back out for the purposes of just showing you a huge contract that probably takes a lot of stuff for the purposes of doing this for me, for you all, because this is how you create your space. Let's do construction. Now, I am not a construction business at all, but if you look at this, and the Virginia Department of Transportation is looking for bids to construct phase 181 Harrisburg, to construct highways and things of that nature. Most of the time, before they start creating all of that, they need somebody to go in there and clear it. That's a different company from the person that's actually going to lay the ground. That's where they start getting to that business to business connect. So a contractor may come in and say, I want to do all of this work, but I'm not going to do the clearing work. I'm going to bring somebody else to do the clearing. That's where that business to business information can go, because they can list, I'm going to do the actual laying of the ground up for that process for the business. And then they can also say, I want someone else to do this space for me. And I want someone else to come in and do the tree clearing and all of that. And that's how you can talk back and forth to each other. So all these bids that's on here, they're not only for, if it's a job that needs 2 or 3 more people or 2 or 3 more companies to combine to come together to get everything done, of course, you have the capacity to do that. Look at this second one. See scope for details. Remember I said the most important information is going to be the scope of work. So they want you to see the scope for details. Twice per year, contractors shall provide mowing and trimming services to the dam, which include clearing vegetation from spillways, ripway below and around the spillways. And so that is two or 3 different things. That's a couple of things that a contractor may do. One contractor may do the mowing and all of that around the overflow and pipes and structures, mowing and trimming services. but someone else may do the trimming, and someone else may do some other components of that. So that's just an example. And I'm going in here, and I wanted you all to see. Here's the actual. Now here's all the documentation, different pictures and photos that you will need to see to make your assessment of if I'm going to do this. And then over here, as you can see, micro business set aside for award priority, meaning if you're a small business under $50,000 or less, this particular opportunity is set aside. This money is set up for you. Doesn't say you have to be SWAM certified, but it does say this is a micro business set aside for award priority. People don't assume that. They think, well, my business is just a little small business and no one's worried about what we do and how we do it. But on here, on EVA, on the State of Virginia website, and this is going to dwr.virginia.gov. This is a Virginia agency, and they are required by law to give this bid to an individual company that makes $50,000 or less. You have to read. The devil is in the details, and the information is in the details, and everything that you need is in the details. And you have to make sure you're reading and looking at all these things. And this is all, I'm not opening up all these documents, but it is a lot. And again, here is due in 6 days on the 28th. It came available on the 17th. And we're here. This is where it is. And this is the details. And normally, this, I don't necessarily want to open this, but I'm going to open it for you just so you can see it. And just because this is going to be the scope, the final scope and the terms. Remember, we were talking about that earlier. These are the final scope. This is the information, all furnishing and goods service described herein. This isn't the best view of it, but this is just the general information. Here's your scope, and this is pretty much what it looks like. It's about 18 pages, and it really specifies what they want. The scope of work. This is the purpose. The contractor shall provide mowing and trimming services. That, as I said, is where they get into the specifics of what they want you to do. Now they're getting into herbicide application, can only be conducted by and under the certified herbicide applicator and under herbicide label directions and everything. So they're really going to get into the specifics of how you are going out there and you're going to weed, treat, and do everything for this particular project. And again, this is a sample RFP that's open. This is what they normally look like. Not in this black. It's just look like a black and white piece of paper. But this is what they get into. And they just discuss. And the key thing, general terms and conditions, like I said, these are the basics that they have requirements for. You will get a vendor's manual to know what everything is acceptable by the Commonwealth of Virginia as a vendor, as it pertains to vendors and working with people. The applicable laws and the courts, what these places, what applies to in what state. It is a state of Virginia anti-discrimination law that your company has to also abide by. So if this is not a thing that your company has, you're going to have to create this and include it in your bid process, because a lot of times they want to see that. Ethics of public contracting, all of those, again, these are the things that get into the nuts and bolts of the contractor and the process of contracting with someone. And these are the other information, immigration reform, and all of this is what's discussed. Because again, remember, you're coming in to a space and a place where you don't know, and they don't know you, and you don't know them. You bring in a whole group of people in to do some work, and they don't know anything about your company. At a minimum, your company should have all of these things in place. And that's what they're asking. So before you even start to put in your application, you might want to go and review your your business policies to make sure that they adhere to these. And if you don't have business policies, then you need to call ITB so we can help you write them. You need to give us a call because we need to write all of this for you. Clarification of terms. Remember, I was explaining to you in the other videos that make sure, Christian, I need you, make sure that we are going clear on the discussion of how we're getting paid, when we're getting paid, when everything, all of that. Here it is, what the subcontractor can do. So say you need, and obviously in this contract, it clearly shows they're going to need a subcontractor. So one prime contractor will do certain work and they will manage the funds. It will be their job to make sure from the contractor what goes on to subcontractors, to pay subcontractors and things of that nature, all of the process of how that's going to go. And this is good because it gives you a real good idea of how in-depth this process gets. Precedence of terms and things of that nature, discrimination, all of this needs to be very clear and concise. And if you have language in your own company that can mirror this, I would do it. If you don't, I would create some for that bid. And it won't take a lot for your company to do it if you're not already doing it. Qualification of bidders. This is all information, the capacities and what you can do. Testing and inspections. If they decide that they want to conduct tests and inspect, it may deem advisable to assure goods and services conform to the specification. So say they came in and wanted to do an inspection on that herbicide. They want to, so okay, let's do it. Long as you know, before we start doing anything, you agree that we could do testing and assessment and inspections. All of that is the conversations that you're having. Again, remember when I said you have to be able to negotiate what you will allow and what you won't. By mutual agreement, this is your agreement. Any default, if you can't do certain things, which is, remember what I said, the biggest areas that people that come into this process, they get too deep in their head into the process and they can't do something and you default. And this is the discussion right here. This is what happens when you default. And this is for this particular one. Use of brand names and all of that specific information is there. And then employees' liability, as I said, they always require a minimum of insurance, that you have insurance, transportation and packaging, things of that nature. And this gets specific to anything that gets into any kind of, I'm assuming for this, what happens with them and who is considered professional for them. So the next thing, I didn't read all of that to know what this specific automobile liability, profession services. Okay, I didn't get into all that, and I'm not going to get into that. But I would call and ask specifically more questions about that area if it were me. Christian, can you take me out of this? Christian, can you take me out of this? Here's Christian. He's here. My producer is I'm trying to leave this space because I don't want to take up too much more of your time and get back to where we were supposed to be. Okay, here I am. And we're going to the next screen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that gives you a little bit more information on this process and an actual live contract that, and they're not that complicated. 18 pages. You know, if anybody if anyone said, "Ooh, 18 pages," I've seen contracts for 50, 60 pages. That is not complicated. All you're doing is focusing on exactly what they're asking and answering it to your best ability. So let me see if anybody has any questions for me tonight. Anybody have any questions? I'm glad that everybody's on that is on. Any questions for me tonight? All right. So what I'm going to do now is I open the floor for these questions. Discussion on specific scenarios and challenges and faced by participants is open. We're open to that. I don't know how many people actually um, would be interested in this process, but I can tell you we have been successful with grant writing and contracts and procurement. We've written for small companies that are now medium-sized companies, and we've written for small companies that are now big companies and growing and expanding. Everyone we've written for, no, we didn't get all of them. And not only did we not get all of them because we didn't write it well, sometimes in this process, especially with grants and with contracts, it is all about the relationship. And folks can tell if you paid someone to write your proposal for you versus you wrote it. And you can tell when someone asks you a question about, well, on page 27, it says specifically that you're going to be doing this, and you don't know what's on page 27. You may not know what's on your page 27, but as soon as you see page 27, you know exactly what it's about. You know exactly what's going on in that page, and you can address it with no questions and no answers. That's how people know. And so sometimes when you get into those situations where individuals may ask a question or inquire some more about what you're talking about, and especially what's in your contract that you've written up, and you can't explain to them, they know automatically, well, this is a fluff situation, and I'm not really sure if they're into this whole process the way I need them to be into it. I'm not sure if they're going to actually do the work that I need them to do, and I'm not really sure if I should trust them. All of those things happen. All those scenarios come up, and it's best for you to address that by reading your proposal. I don't care if you hire a contractor like myself to write for you and or not. The best thing for you to do is to read everything that's given to you. That's the key to contracts, procurements, and grants. Reading the information, rereading the information. I know we're in this whole new AI phase and chat GPT. I would run everything, every question that you're getting on your applications or your grants and things. I would run them straight through chat GPT, because your thought process of what they're asking in that may not be the answer that you're thinking that they need. But a lot of times chat GPT hits it right on the money. So I would utilize, some AI support services, or I would utilize ITV to assist you and to help you with this process of getting contracts, writing for contracts, writing for grants, and doing whatever it is that's necessary to go after some additional funding for your organization. So at this point, again, I'm going to ask for, does anybody have any questions? Because we're about to close out. This wasn't that long. If you need more, we offer this in a longer class. So we'll offer those classes again starting this year. So if you need more information, don't hesitate to give me a call. Thank you for staying on tonight. We're going to end a little early because I don't have any questions, and I think we pretty much covered everything that I have for you. So let me double check. Let's look and see if we have anyone on here asking questions. No, not yet. So we thank you. Evelyn Johnson was in the beginning. Thank you so much. And I'll close out everything. Again, Evelyn Johnson with In the Beginning, code.com. That would be my email address if you needed to send me any information. Here's our telephone number, 468-8141, if you need that. And our website is definitely In the Beginning, code.com. If you need to book a consultation or get anything done with us. This was a very, very brief class for a really in-depth bit of information. And when you're ready to get to this next level, which we have clients already in this space, don't hesitate to give us a call. 804-468-8141. Evelyn Johnson. I am here to help you with your contracts and your procurement process. And everyone can work with all different agencies. It doesn't matter. I got an email from Chesterfield County this week that they needed someone as a consultant, and I'm listed as one of their consultants, that they would send me emails. And Louisa County, because I've written for them and gotten grants and gotten RFPs done with them. And they both were sending me something about a consultant and to come in and help with the hiring process, which is not what we do. In our space, we assist you with hiring individuals. We create the documents and things of that nature, but we don't sit on panels and create panels and things of that nature to do that. However, it was glad to be thought of. So again, I'm Evelyn Johnson with In the Beginning Incubator and Fund. Tonight is Tuesday. It's cold here in Virginia. Thank you everyone who tuned in from across the country. Much appreciated. If you didn't know, we have folks, this is streaming on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So we have folks on here from all different areas. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you need assistance with that contract or a grant written or anything like that, please don't hesitate to call. Again, I'm Evelyn Johnson, and we're going to end it tonight. And thank you for joining, and have a great night.